The parable of the wedding banquet is a story told by Jesus in the New Testament, found in the Gospel of Matthew, 22–1:14. It is a parable that illustrates the kingdom of heaven and God's invitation to salvation. Here's a summary. Jesus describes a king who prepares a wedding banquet for his son. He sends his servants to invite the guests who had been invited, but they refuse to come. The king sends more servants to tell the invited guests that the banquet is ready, but they still ignore the invitation. Some of the invited guests even mistreat and kill the servants. In response, the king is enraged and sends his army to destroy those murderers and burn their city. He then instructs his servants to go to the street corners and invite anyone they find to the banquet. The servants gather all the people they could find, both good and bad, and the wedding hall is filled with guests. However, when the king enters to see the guests, he notices a man who is not wearing wedding clothes. The king asks how he got in without the proper attire, and the man is speechless. The king orders his servants to tie him hand and foot and throw him outside into the darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. The parable ends with Jesus saying, "For many are invited, but few are chosen." The parable emphasizes several themes. God's invitation. The king represents God, who invites people to the kingdom of heaven. The initial guests who refuse the invitation symbolize those who reject God's message. Judgment. The mistreatment and killing of the servants, and the subsequent punishment of the guests, signify the rejection of God's prophets and the judgment that follows. Inclusiveness. The invitation extended to anyone found on the streets represents the inclusiveness of God's invitation, extending to both Jews and Gentiles, the righteous and the sinners. Preparedness. The man without wedding clothes highlights the need for proper preparation and righteousness to enter the kingdom of heaven. Chosen few. The concluding statement underscores the idea that while many are called to God's kingdom, only those who respond appropriately and are prepared will be chosen.